I was looking at Pinterest last night, and it puts so much random stuff up. Even when you do a search, it's as bad as social media. And every so often it'll shove a load of these memes and quotes at me, you know, quote of the day, that sort of thing. And there was something, I can't remember what it was, and it triggered a moment of regret in me. And I was thinking, oh God, I really wasted my 20s and 30s. Think of all the things I should have been doing. And then I checked myself back, because obviously that is a completely pointless emotion to have, because you can't take back those years. You can't go back in time. If I could, I most definitely would. But I can't. So I have to work with what I've got going forward. And then it reminded me that I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it. So I have been in a situation now where for the last 9 years, my life has been different. I made some very deliberate changes, which meant that I was in control, that it was my life, that I didn't have the excuse of saying, oh, well, you know, you get stuck in a 9 to 5 and then you can't get out of it. And, you know, I was stuck in this relationship and it was hard to get out of. I don't have any of those excuses anymore. I don't have the 9 to 5. I don't have the relationship issues that I always used to have. I am essentially free to do what I want. Now, I might not be rich enough to do what I want, but, you know, I've been working on things. So a lot of the last, let's say, almost 7.5 years since I've been in my own accommodation, because even when I was free from jobs and partners, I was still living in shared accommodation. But for the last 7.5 years, I've been in my own place, which is the first time that's ever happened in my life. I had 1 year in 1997 where I had my own place. So for a lot of that, it's been a wonderful adjustment. And I can use all sorts of excuses, you know. It takes time to reset your brain. Then we had COVID, la-di-da-di-da. I lost my studio, so I had to do a restart on the business, and etc., etc. And, you know, in a way, they are valid arguments for why I haven't done other things. But I don't have the excuse for not taking some chances while I still can. The fear is that, and I know what will happen if I don't really give myself a big kick up the backside, I will stay here and I will keep going through the motions of little jobs here, trying to restart the business there, things never quite getting to the right place. And then something will happen back home and I will need to move back home for my parents or parent. And then I will spend the next how many years looking after them. And then that changes, and then it is just me. And then I'm going to be too old to do anything. Because potentially, there is always the potential that my parents could still be around in 15 years' time. Or 20 years' time. It's not unusual now. So by the time I am essentially free of all responsibility, I could be well into my 60s. And then at that point, I have wasted everything. Because I don't know what I'm going to be like in my 60s and my 70s. I'm fairly healthy now. I'm trying to make adjustments to my life so that I am healthy when I'm older, in the same way that my parents have been. But I don't know that will actually happen. That something might happen and that will all change. And I don't want to get to being in my 70s and I genuinely haven't done anything. Now, I'm not going to be able to go backpacking around the world. I'm never going to have the money for that. Well, if I do, I'm going to be in like my 70s by the time I do have the money to do it. And then am I going to be able to do it? Maybe I will. Maybe I am going to be a seriously fit 70-year-old with no ties and I can go and do what I want. I would love that and I would absolutely embrace that. But it's a risk, isn't it? Ideally, what would I want to do? Get rid of this place. Put into storage the things that I need, like keep doing the business stuff. I can still keep selling on the business and still keep making some things. Ideally, I'd like a van. I want to live in a van for a bit. Give it a go. I would like to try that. But I don't have the funds to do that. I don't have the funds to build and fit out a van. And it would mean getting rid of the car and then being in a van. And what I do love about the car is that I can stealth camp and no one knows I'm there. If you're rocking around in a van of any type, it looks a little bit iffy. I can get one of those small vans like a Kangoo or something like that. But it's pretty basic. You know, you stick a mattress in the back and that's pretty much all you've got. I don't think you could live with that. You'd have to find ways to shower. So you need to join, ideally I suppose you need to join a gym, but where you can go into other gyms in the network and use the showers like that. Food is going to be different because you're not going to be able to cook, so you've got to do your food differently. So it comes with all sorts of complications doing it that way. But just getting rid of this place would be lovely. I do feel that I don't like it. I don't like the fear of not knowing how long I'm going to be here for. I'm still waiting for that rental renewal to come through, which will be through any time now, and that always makes me nervous. I mean, either way, I'm stuck with it. Whatever the rise is, I'm going to have to take it because, you know, I'm running out of time if I decided I did want to move and I have no plan to move. So, but could I say, okay, so I'll renew this year and make this my last year here? And then what do I do? What do I do with everything? Everything goes. Because I'm not going to find anywhere else. And that's all sorts of reasons. A lot of it is to do with not passing credit checks because I'm self-employed. You can't dump 6 months of rent on somebody as a security anymore. They're making that illegal. So no one will take that anymore. And I found that a struggle when I did it. I had places turning me down because that was my kind of rent offer. Although I could pay monthly rent, but I don't pass the checks because credit checks don't include things like rent payments. They don't look at your savings. They don't look at income that isn't PAYE. So my credit score, which is quite good, but suggests that I have less money coming in every month than I spend. It suggests I have no money coming in whatsoever because it doesn't understand money coming in as self-employed. It only counts PAYE. So the credit score system's stupid anyway. So, I don't know. It's not as simple as saying, oh, well, I'll go and do this or I'll move or whatever, because the chances are I won't find anywhere and it's very risky. I'd have to put everything into storage first and then look for the place. And that could take forever. You know, it's not a good market right now. It really is not a good market. But I have to stop using these things as excuses. There's no legitimate excuse because if things go wrong, I have safety nets, which a lot of people don't. I wouldn't want to, you have to use the safety net. You know, I wouldn't want to do something like really reckless and then expect other people to pick up the pieces. But this has to come to an end at some point. And maybe fate will deal with that. I'm not sure. The way landlords rules, they're changing the rules for renters and landlords. Who knows, maybe my landlord will say, you know what, I've had enough of this. Or he's probably approaching retirement now, I should imagine. I've seen him, he looks like he could, the sort of person who would take early retirement if he could. Although he's probably not having to do much work if he's just a landlord. He doesn't even do any other work. So he might turn around and say, well, you know, I'm going to get rid of a bunch of properties, let's downsize. Oh, that block can go. and then fate has dealt me the hand, the push off the edge of the cliff that I needed. And very often that happens to me. Something will deal me a hand that says, you know what, you need to do this now, and we're going to make it difficult for you to ignore it. So I don't know, but anyway, I can see myself falling back into the trap, and I will keep thinking, oh, I should make these plans, I should do these things, and not doing any of it. And then in 5 years' time, regretting still being here. Because that could also happen. I could end up being here until I have to go home. So, got to make a plan. It's got to be done. I keep saying this. I've said this during the last year. Got to make a plan, and not making the plan. Got to make the plan. Need the inspiration, the motivation to do it, because it still feels safe. You know, all the while that things are ticking along, everything feels safe, and you think, oh, it'll be all right. Something will come along, and it doesn't. And I've got to stop with that mindset, because I'm wasting more of my life. Anyway, that is my Wednesday morning update. I'm getting ready to go and do my Wednesday morning clean. Let's get on.